So let's talk about the book. One of our co-author, Murat, that you interviewed before, and I wrote a book back in 2015, 16. That was the first continuous architecture book. And the idea was we wanted to really, number one, write down our experiences about architecture and what we think the lesson learned and what will be useful to others. But also one thing that we're looking at, there is a little bit of a fight now. And the fight has been going on for over 20 years between the agile people saying, architecture emerges, and the traditional architects that tend to say, well, you should really build your architecture up front and not change it. And that fight has been going on. And I don't believe that either of those camps are right, because yes, architecture can emerge, but you have to be very good at what you're doing so it emerges right. If not, you end up with a monster. Creating an architecture up front, hoping it's never going to change, I think it's crazy. Things change all the time. So that's what continuous architecture was trying to do. So the way we define it is we said first, we need some principles. You probably read them, the 6 principles. And none of those are really new. I mean, they have been used before. But I think what's new is putting them together in a nice set. So
Right.
the first one is architect products, not projects. That's a well-known thing because projects tend to be short-lived while products are long-lived. So it's better actually to architect products than projects. Also, if you think products, you start thinking about the discipline of product management. You start thinking about the business, which is very important in architecture. So that's why we focus on products. Quality attributes. People say that any blob of software can handle functional requirements. Not very well, but it can. What really makes software tick are the quality attribute requirements. Unfortunately, and we'll talk more about that, they are usually hard to define. Performance is a good example. You sometimes get requirements from your stakeholders that say, well, your system must be performing. Our system must be fast. Our system must be whatever. No actual definition, no practical numbers, nothing you can test against. So that's hard.
About this principle one, right? So we need to go from projects to products. I think it's kind of like these days, there's a lot of movement about people should move from project to product. Tends to be long-lived rather than short-lived. So the incentives is actually building for long term. So in your experience in the last maybe few years recently with all these agile movement, what do you think is the state of the current industry? They understand that basically, yeah, we have to go through products, or there are still aspects of projects that actually still meaningful that we need to do it in our technology industry?
Well, yeah, great question, Henry. I mean, number one, I don't think we talk a lot about products to projects. In reality, I don't think that people are thinking products, really. You do have some product managers, that's a fact. But you also have project managers. When you start saying that you don't really need a project plan, when we say that, I don't know, 100 people raising their arms, let's say, what do you mean? No project plan? What does that mean? I say, no, you really need a product roadmap, which is different from a project plan. But what I've seen also, I don't know if you've seen the same thing. People say, okay, fine. You want a product roadmap. So they do something that they call a product roadmap, which looks like a project plan. One thing I have to be careful about what I'm saying here, but you have a very successful and very followed methodology called SAFe, right? The scalability. It's way too easy to turn SAFe into waterfall with very thin veneer of agile on top. I mean, you talk a little bit agile, but in reality, we do waterfall. So it's good for senior management because they feel they are using SAFe, so they're agile. In reality, you're still doing project management, you're still doing basically waterfall. Culture is the hardest thing to change. Waterfall is ingrained in the way people think, so you try to change that, and you run into a lot of big issues here. It's going to take years and years before we actually get to a point where people say, projects are done with.
So what does it mean by architect products? So you mentioned in this principle, architect products. So what does it mean?
So basically, if you take a product roadmap, the whole concept of base products and derived products. So you need to really understand what is your base product. How do you really build your product roadmap? And how do you build on top of this base product to actually get different levels of products? Most important, how do you actually adapt to what customers want? One thing that we talk a lot about are feedback loops, which is something we borrowed from Agile. Feedback loops are important because honestly, nobody gets it right the first time. You put an architecture out there and you build something and you hope it's going to work. Well, most of the time, it doesn't quite work the way you plan it. And unless you have a feedback loop, you really can't adjust and incrementally change and adjust your architecture. So I think that's also the big change compared to project. is that project, you have this fallacy that you're going to be able to do your architecture, it's going to be done. In reality, you evolve all the time, you change all the time.
So let's move on to the second principle, focus on quality attributes, not functional requirements. I think it's very interesting the way you mentioned about it this way, because now that I hear about it, it's kind of right as well. Normally we think that, okay, product features, whatever that is a functional requirements, and that's what we need to build. But actually, a lot of times, what makes or breaks the product is actually the quality attribute, not really the functions or the features. So what are those quality attributes that you can mention, maybe the core quality attributes?
Yes, so that's the 4 quality attributes. What we found when we wrote a new book is that there are 4 of them which are very, very important. No special order. You have scalability, performance, security, and resilience. Scalability is interesting. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but scalability is interesting because people 20 years ago or 30 years ago didn't really think too much about scalability. Basically, you kind of were hoping your system will be scalable. And of course, at some point, you hit a brick wall and the system is not scalable anymore. Performance, on the other hand, is one that people are very knowledgeable about because badly performing system basically is hard to use. So you lose your users very quickly, but it's important. Security, well, I don't really need to sell you on security. When I started a long time ago, we used to think security was a problem of the security department. They did their security checks and they even reviewed their code and so on and so forth. You didn't have to worry about that. That has changed a lot. Now security is everybody's problem. It's not just a problem of security people. It's absolutely, it needs to be built up front. And then resilience. Resilience, of course, is critical. I mean, if you just look at what happened last year and this year about the whole phenomenon of retail investment, that's probably linked to the pandemic, but people now started investing without going through investment advisors. But those systems break down because honestly, nobody thought that they would be so important. And nobody thought they would be basically so much used. And they break down. Could be scalability. But what happens when they break down? Well, a lot of people can't trade anymore. And that always happens on a day when the market is the most active. So resilience is becoming a very, very important quality.
Thanks for sharing these 4 quality attributes and giving us a recap. I think those are very interesting points. And I see these days, those 4 really are becoming more and more important. So let's move on to the third principle. Maybe you can describe what is the third principle?
Yes. So let's delay design decisions until it's necessary, which is interesting because architecture is an art, not a science. The whole idea is don't architect for things you don't know. So your design decisions should always be built on facts, not guesses. And that's very hard because you may have some stakeholders that say, hey, I want a system which is scalable for 200% of the current workload or 2000%. And you say, wait a minute, okay, are you sure? Are you really sure? Because if I start creating a system that's going to be able to handle those volumes, you're not going to be happy with cost. Cost is a very important attribute because in the real world, outside of IT, people who architect and design always talk about cost. If you hire an architect to build a house, the first question he's going to ask you, or she's going to ask you, is how much money do you want to spend? That's a question we never ask in IT. We never give choices based on, okay, if you spend X, I can build you that. If you spend Y, I can build you that and so on and so forth. We never say that. You have a budget. And you say, okay, I'm going to make the budget. Most of the time, I'm going to exceed the budget. We know IT spends always more than budget. We know that. But the real question is really, you need to bake cost into your thinking. Don't design for things you don't have to design for. It's wasteful. Now, if you don't make the right decisions, at some point, you're going to say, oh, shoot, now what do I do? But when you make a decision, always try to say, do I really need to make that decision now? Or can I delay a little bit longer?
That's a very key question. Do I really need this right now? Or can I decide it sometimes later? Because I also heard a few other things about architecture. Architecture is about something that is hard to change. So that's another perspective that some people said. And it's really funny as well when you say cost, right? Cost is always kind of like neglected in this current IT world. In my experience these days about building projects, products for technology, they never say, you have to build this product within X budget. It's always about building it fast, building whatever features, but then cost is always the afterthought. So thanks for sharing this delay decision. I think it's a very critical thing in architecture because once you decide on a hard to change architecture, basically you're stuck and you have to do a major rewrite.